morning, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Modern Self-Reliance Sugar Shack build. So this is, I don't know what episode it is. We're just making progress. And I always like to talk a little bit about the weather because it affects you so much when you're building outside. So overnight we had a snap freeze and it went down to -2. So everything froze over, and that's a huge benefit for us because we were able to go get our steel roof, and it was 18 degrees and everything was snotty, soupy mess. And we were contemplating having to take each sheet off and carrying it down the hill because the tractor just wouldn't make it through the mud and we would get stuck. But fortunately we had the flash freeze, everything firmed up, we were able to just load it up on the forks and drive it down here, which is a huge amount of effort that we didn't have to do. So we can almost quit now while we're ahead. We've done a half a day's work in 5 minutes with the tractor, which is awesome. So we've got the roof, and yeah, so we're just basically clearing off our snow. It snowed a little bit, and it rained a whole lot. We got a little bit of a puddle here. Don's here. Start getting our strapping up and getting our roof all set up so we can actually put our steel on. So we've made some good progress. We've got one side leveled off. We got to put our strapping up here. Where's up here? Strapping up here. It's cold again. I don't know how. It's shorts and t-shirt weather, and then it goes to a 2-layer day to yeah, it's up and down. It's crazy. Now we're dealing with snow and water and mud. Scaffold looks like it sunk a little bit too. Feel like a bird up here, high above the trees. Cue the crows. That was right on cue. So, anyways, yeah, I'm up on the roof. As you can see, the strapping is coming along quite nicely. It seems to be evening out the bumps and the humps. Because we're building on top of logs, the roof it's becoming a chore to make it all level. So what we've done is we've kind of let the main structure of the roof kind of float in the middle, and then once we put our strapping in, it kind of is pulling up and pushing down as it goes, just to make the roof lay flat. But it seems to look pretty darn flat. So we're making some good progress here. This is going a little quicker than I thought. So we're on track for tomorrow. Tomorrow, the big day when we put our sheeting on. We got Vic West sent us our roof. Forest green. I don't know if it's forest green or emerald green. It's dark green. So that should go on quite nice. We've making progress. I shouldn't walk around up here. It's kind of high. I don't know if you can tell how high I am. Blue sky. It's nice up here. Hey, it's like a birdhouse, Don. Don's standing on top of Don's head. I think Don's down there. All right, let's get some more screws in this bad boy. Get this show on the road. We got our sunshine. This is what I love, doing roofs in the sunshine. So I've got, we boiled down our maple syrup to the final product, and look at that, liquid gold. This happens to be, you know, the retail bottle. We don't sell it, we just gotta give it away, but it's the pretty stuff. So here you go, Don. Here's your
no, thank you very much.
Here's your maple syrup. You take that home with you and you can put it on your coffee or your pancakes or
my Eggos.
Eggos. Look at the Eggo guy.
Might be Eggo tonight. Eggos for tonight.
That would be delicious. Eggos.
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm sure. Well, I know it is delicious because you already had it. So I thank you very much for it.
Yeah, there's more where that comes from. If that runs out, you just bring the bottle back and I'll fill her back up.
Refill it. That's
yeah,
great.
Those are those, you can't even find those bottles this year. There's the glass bottles. We got mason jars for the other people, but Don's special, so he gets the real McCoy.
And I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
You don't have to appreciate it that much. Big day. We got our roof. We got our Vic West roof. The reason why I pick VicWest is because they're awesome. You know, you give them the dimensions, and sure enough, they cut the roof to size, and they ship it off. So the lead time on this guy was like extremely quick. I called them up, gave them my dimensions, and sure enough, it showed up before our roof structure was ready. So that's impressive. Don't necessarily like doing it that way. I like to have the roof structure done and then order the panels, because we ran into a little bit of a problem. We've got a solution for it. The panels are cut exactly what I asked for, but they're too big for the roof, because the overhang is going to be a little bit shorter than 9 feet. It's going to be like 8'6". So we're going to trim off a little bit of this roof, and I've got a special tool for that with a special blade. Now normally I would take a blade and I turn it upside down, like a regular blade, turn it upside down and cut it backwards to cut steel. But instead, I've got the actual proper blade. I went and bought the boomerang metal cutting blade. I don't know, it's got carbide tips and stuff. Anyways, I picked it up at Princess Auto. It's got little fine teeth, and we're gonna give it a whirl, because it does cut sheet metal, steel, roofing, and siding. So in theory, this is the blade for cutting steel. So hopefully that's gonna work out well for us. We're gonna chalk that guy up. We're gonna cut some steel and get the first panels on. Because I don't usually always have the right tool, is what you do is you take the blade and you flip it upside down. So it uses the blade backwards. So it almost like it's nicking the stuff, and it's taking like small chunks of the steel out, and it allows you to cut it without using a proper steel blade. So let's put it in backwards. This is the old blade. It's got no teeth left, because I think I cut like not even mild steel. I cut like legitimate steel with it backwards. So it's a ninja star now. So we've got the proper blade. I'm curious to see how it's going to work. I'm going to use a scrap chunk of steel before I use a proper roof, because I don't know how it's going to work. So let's all right, first test of the full metal blade to cut the steel. I've got a junk piece steel that I'm going to test it out on, because I've never actually done this before with a proper metal blade cutting metal. So I got my safety glasses, got my ear protection. That worked good. A little scary. Worked really good. All right, now we just gotta cut our panels. We're probably gonna cut 6 at a time, because it's easier to cut 6 at a time than it is to cut 1 at a time. So you can see the thing wasn't that violent. I think if I enter the cut a little slower than I did, probably won't be so violent. All right, guys, so we're gonna measure twice, 3 times, even maybe 4 times, and we're gonna cut once, because it's an important cut. Originally our roof was supposed to come down to about here, which is about 9 feet. And if you can see the problem with the fact your eye might poke into the edge of the roof. So if I measure from the ridge all the way down to the edge, I've got 8 feet exactly. And I want to give it a little bit more of an overhang. So I'm thinking, if I were to cut this guy, actually if I cut it exactly at 8 feet, leave it down from the ridge a little bit, it'll give me a little bit of wiggle room. Got our measurement, we measured it twice. Let's measure the other side. I can do that off camera. We're gonna measure, make sure everything's perfect before we make a cut. So if you want to look at the positive side of this, just think how many birdhouses I can make with all these chunks of 1 foot chunks. Lots of birdhouses. Well, guys, don't recommend that. That was not a fun process. Yeah, that's a 2 out of 10 in my books. Yeah, build your roof structure first and then order your panels, because cutting that is no fun. Fortunately, we only have to do that 1 more time to make our other 6 panels the right size. My advice to you is it's kind of like swimming. Keep your mouth closed when you're doing that, and yeah, hold your breath. Yeah. Okay, let's get the panels up. This is the most exciting part of any build, is when you close in your living space and you kind of make it feel like home. And we put the lid on it. What we do is we actually square up the first sheet the best we can. This is a log cabin, so it's not exactly square. And what's good about this roof is that it allows a little bit of play. It's not rocket science by any stretch of the imagination. You put your roof on and then you square it up the best you can and you go with it. But you want to make sure your first panel is square. So as you can see, our strapping is installed. It's relatively square. I think this will go pretty quick.
Okay, so what we're doing here now is just pre-marking the ribs where Kevin's gonna fasten. So, and this is where all the strapping is up above, and then he won't have to either guess at it or measure up there. So we're just trying to make this a little quicker process.
The reason why I pick Vic West is because it's so easy to work with. It goes so quickly, and there's lots of colors to choose from. So we've picked forest green color, and it's Ultra Vic. So what we do to install this stuff is we build the roof with strapping. I put the main ribs 1 foot on center, and then I put the strapping 16 inches on center. And what that allows us is to have pretty good structure to actually secure the roof to the building. Now, there is a little bit of a debate on where to put these screws, and a lot of people say you put them in the flat so you can screw them in further. I disagree with that, and I think the manufacturer disagrees with that as well. I've watched the video on the installation guide, and we put them in the high spots, or the ribs, in order to allow the water to sheet off both sides and not kind of pool. Because if you put them on the low spots, that's kind of where water pools anyways, is always on the lowest point of the roof. Well guys, that went up pretty quick. That was, in real time, 2 hours to do one side. It was basically one guy plus Don. Don was handing me the panels, and yeah, I was screwing them off. So it's kind of a pitchy roof. You wouldn't want to stand on it, but it went up really fast. So that's another reason why you pick a steel roof, is because it's a one-day roof. You know, at the end of the day, you're not tired because you're not lugging shingles. But yeah, so 2 hours, one side. We got another side to go. And what I like about the other side is because I went this side, and you always have to screw from the left hand, because we went from the front to the back. The other side should be easier because I'll be using my dominant hand, which is my right hand, and you don't have to reach over so far and use your left hand. My left hand is more or less useless. So one of the other reasons why I pick a steel roof, and especially for a roof in the forest, is that stuff doesn't grow on this like a traditional shingle roof. So if you've ever seen a house with a lot of trees around it and it's got a traditional shingles roof, there's always moss growing on it because it never really dries out. With a steel roof, you don't really have to worry about it too much. It's kind of like a roof for life. You set it and forget it. Stuff just falls off. The pine needles just kind of shoot off. The snow shoots off. Everything just kind of goes off the roof. So it's quick. The installation, like you're going 3 feet at a time. One person can easily manage a panel, get it in place, and you screw the thing down. You're not lugging up asphalt shingles. Lugging is like, if you've ever done an asphalt shingle, you realize that this is the way to go. Steel is the way to go, and you don't have to replace it in 15 years or 8 years. So this is the screw. It's a little hex head. Use a little nut driver, magnetic nut driver on your impact driver, and you can screw them. You screw the panels off in the ribs, and then there's a little rubber washer that prevents the water from going in beside the screw. So what you want to do when you put these screws in is you don't want to over squish them. You can over squish the rubber washer and it becomes sort of useless. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, not too bad. You just don't want to mash it in. You also don't want to mash the rib in. So there's a right amount of torque to put on these things. You just kind of snug it up. You don't want to squish it because there's a rubber washer to seal your water out. I'm impressed the way it looks. Look how it fits in its surrounding. It's not, it doesn't stick out. Look at that. Like it's a natural habitat. That green color, that forest green, really fits. A neat way to draw a line if you don't have a straight edge is if you hold your tape measure in one hand, like this, and then you attach your pencil to the other side. And what you do is you run the material along your index finger, like this, and that gives you a straight line if you don't have a straight edge. The side that we cut is going to get buried under the roof cap, so we're not too worried about that. after we get the one panel in, we overlap each subsequent panel with this one little rib here. And this allows the water to sheet off of the panel and out, as you can see. So the screw goes here. We've got the long ladder out, and it's designed for the last panel because there's no real places to stand. Otherwise you could stand on the little monkey bars you got up here. The trees they're fighting back. We've got one last panel to do. But like I said, we've got a ladder leaned up against it because there's no real place to stand. So we put the ladder leaned up on a whatever degree this is, and allows us to kind of walk up here safely. Put a couple more screws in here. We've got probably a total of 2.5 hours. No, more than that, 3 hours. 3 hours the whole roof. We got the ridge left to do, which no big deal, but we've got some more screws to put on. Nothing like a brand new steel roof to look at. It's beautiful. Whenever I put the steel roof on, I always take the extra time to measure out where my screws go. And I think it's more of an aesthetic thing than anything else, because you want that perfectly straight line of screws when you look down the roof, if you ever do. Just gives you, I don't know, like a satisfaction of a job well done when all your screws are lined up perfectly. Otherwise, you know, you got them out of, well, you know, you could randomly put them. I don't know if you could randomly put screws. I just put them all in a straight line. Nicey nice. Makes my brain feel good when they're all in a straight line. These branches, the branches! See, we're up in the trees. Leave every tree we can. I like trees. I don't like when they smack me in the face, but yeah. All right, so we've got a couple more screws to put on. Last panel, then the ridge beam. We're all set. We'll be watertight. There's supposed to be rain tonight, so it'll be the first time these logs didn't see rain in forever. I got the ridge cap on. I've just got a couple more screws I've got to put in there, and the best way to do that is just kind of lay it down and see where it wants to find its natural kind of lay, and then you make it flush with both sides, and you don't want to kink it. You just kind of let it find its home. It knows where it wants to go, and you just got to put it there. You just got to loosely put the screws at one end and then put it on the other end and then fill in the gaps. But yeah, I think it looks great. What do you think? Hey Don, what's the best part of having a roof on here?
We have somewhere to store our tools for tomorrow.
That's right. We don't have to put it underneath our bucket anymore. We've got a place to put our tools to keep everything dry. It's definitely a milestone when you get a roof on something and you can keep yourself dry and out of the elements. And I look forward to actually finishing the inside now. There might be some big plans, big changes on this thing, but you'll have to stay tuned for that on a new episode. Maybe there's a different use for this cabin. Maybe it's not just going to be a sugar shack. Stay tuned. Join me on the next one.